The low hum of advanced electronics filled the dimly lit observatory, a cathedral of scientific pursuit hidden deep within the Australian outback. Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted her neural interface, her fingers dancing across holographic displays that shimmered with countless streams of astronomical data. For 15 years, she had dedicated her life to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, a pursuit that had become both her passion and her professional purgatory. Most of her colleagues had long since abandoned hope, dismissing the search as a futile endeavor. Funding had dried up, research grants had become scarce, and the scientific community had grown increasingly skeptical. But Elena remained, driven by an unshakable conviction that humanity was not alone in the vast cosmic expanse. The moment happened without warning. A series of complex mathematical patterns began to pulse across her primary display, unlike anything she had ever witnessed before. The signal wasn't random noise or background radiation. It was deliberate, structured, and undeniably artificial. "System, verify signal parameters," Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The AI assistant's synthesized voice responded with clinical precision. "Signal analysis confirms non-terrestrial origin. Complexity index exceeds known natural communication patterns. Probability of artificial transmission, 99.987%. Elena's heart raced. This was it, the moment every astronomer dreamed of but few believed would ever come. First contact. But something about this transmission felt different. It wasn't a simple greeting or a mathematical proof. There was an underlying tone of desperation, of urgent need. Within hours, Elena's discovery had triggered a global response. The world's top scientific institutions converged, analyzing every nuance of the mysterious signal. International security agencies, typically skeptical of such claims, began mobilizing with unprecedented speed. General Marcus Hamilton, head of the United Global Defense Initiative, studied the transmission data with a veteran's critical eye. His career had been defined by preparing for scenarios most considered impossible. Alien contact had always been a theoretical exercise, a thought experiment used to test strategic thinking. Now, it was terrifyingly real. The signal originates from the Kepler 452 system, reported Dr. Akira Tanaka, a brilliant astrophysicist who had been hastily assembled into the emergency response team. But it's not just a transmission, it's a distress call. The holographic display flickered, revealing intricate star charts and complex mathematical sequences. Embedded within the transmission were fragments of visual data, glimpses of massive technological structures being systematically destroyed, vast planetary systems going dark. "They're running from something," Hamilton muttered, his weathered fingers tracing the destructive patterns. "Something that's consuming entire civilizations." The transmission repeated, each cycle revealing more horrifying details. An advanced alien civilization, technologically superior to anything humanity had imagined, was being systematically annihilated by an unknown force. And now, they were reaching out to Earth, a planet they had previously deemed too primitive to be worth contacting. Elena watched the data stream, her mind racing with implications. Humanity had always wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now, we were about to find out not just that we weren't alone, but that we might be someone's last hope. "Prepare for global disclosure," Hamilton ordered, his voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. "The world needs to know we're about to receive some very unexpected guests." As night fell across the observatory, the signal continued its desperate plea. Humanity stood at the precipice of its greatest challenge and its most extraordinary opportunity. The universe had just changed forever, and no one was quite ready for what was coming next. The countdown had begun. The United Global Defense Initiative's primary command center hummed with a controlled intensity that belied the unprecedented situation. Buried 2 kilometers beneath the Andes Mountains, the facility represented humanity's most closely guarded secret, a testament to decades of preparation, innovation, and strategic foresight. General Marcus Hamilton stood before a massive holographic display, surrounded by a diverse team of experts who represented the pinnacle of human intellectual and strategic capabilities. Dr. Kamil Nowak, a quantum physics prodigy, manipulated three-dimensional projections of the alien transmission, his fingers dancing across intricate data streams. The transmission contains more than just a distress call, Nowak explained, his Polish accent crisp and precise. It's a comprehensive data packet. These aren't just random signals, they're strategic information about the threat. Elena Rodriguez, now integrated into the emergency response team, studied the holographic fragments. What had begun as an astronomical discovery had transformed into humanity's most critical mission. The alien civilization, which called themselves the Zarin Collective, had been fighting a losing battle against an entity they could barely comprehend. The threat appears to be a form of adaptive technological plague. Elena translated from the complex mathematical language embedded in the transmission. A collective intelligence that doesn't just destroy civilizations, it consumes and repurposes them. Hamilton's strategic mind was already several steps ahead. "We've been preparing for this moment for decades," he said, pressing a hidden panel that revealed a massive digital war room. Classified project files began to populate the screens, decades of technological development hidden from public view. The room revealed humanity's true potential. Underground research facilities that had appeared to be mundane scientific outposts were, in reality, advanced technological incubators, quantum computing networks that dwarfed anything previously imagined, biotechnological advancements that could rewrite the fundamental understanding of life itself. Dr. Aria Wong, the lead biotechnology researcher, brought up a series of breakthrough projects. "Our adaptive nanotechnology can potentially interface with almost any biological or technological system," she explained. "We've been developing this in complete secrecy, anticipating scenarios exactly like this." The team watched as holographic displays showed revolutionary technologies. Nano-adaptive medical systems, quantum communication networks, adaptive AI frameworks that could learn and modify themselves at unprecedented speeds. These weren't just scientific curiosities, they were humanity's hidden arsenal. "Why keep all this secret?" asked Lieutenant Carlos Ramirez, the youngest member of the team and a specialist in extraterrestrial communication protocols. Hamilton's response was calculated. "Because the moment other civilizations understand your true capabilities, you become a target. Or worse, they try to control or neutralize you before you can develop fully." The alien transmission continued to pulse, revealing more about the approaching threat. The Zarin Collective described an entity they called the Convergence, a technological parasitic intelligence that could absorb and repurpose entire civilizations, turning their technological infrastructure into extensions of its own consciousness. "They'd lost over 60% of their known space," Elena noted, her voice grave. "And they believe humanity might be their last hope." Nowak pulled up a series of strategic simulations. "Our technological diversity is our greatest strength. Unlike the Zarin, who developed a unified technological ecosystem, humans have always valued individual innovation. We don't just think outside the box, we constantly redesign the box itself." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. Humanity wasn't just facing a potential invasion. They were being presented with an opportunity to prove their worth on a galactic scale. Hamilton walked to a central holographic display, his fingers triggering a series of authorization protocols. "Initiate Project Prometheus," he commanded. "All hidden research facilities are now on maximum alert. We're going to show the universe what humanity can really do." As klaxons began to sound in facilities around the globe, a new chapter in human history was about to begin. The universe was about to learn that the species it had overlooked was about to become its most unexpected defender. The countdown continued, and humanity was ready. The first detailed images of the Convergence arrived 3 days after the initial transmission. They were nothing like anyone had expected. Deep within the United Global Defense Initiative's Primary Analysis Center, Dr. Aria Wong struggled to comprehend the visual data streaming across her quantum-enhanced displays. The threat wasn't a traditional invasion force. It was something far more terrifying. A technological ecosystem that defied every known principle of warfare, biology, and technological development. "It's not a species," Arya muttered, her fingers rapidly manipulating the holographic imagery. "It's more like a living technology. A self-evolving computational network that consumes and repurposes entire civilizations." The Zeran transmission provided horrifying context. The convergence didn't just destroy, it transformed. Entire planetary systems were reduced to intricate technological meshworks, living circuits that absorbed and redesigned everything they encountered. Technological infrastructure, biological entities, planetary resources, all became components of an ever-expanding, self-modifying intelligence. General Hamilton studied the data with a veteran's critical eye. How do you fight something that doesn't think like a traditional enemy? Something that adapts faster than we can strategize. Dr. Kamil Noack, the quantum physics expert, had been working nonstop since the transmission arrived. His latest analysis revealed something both terrifying and potentially hopeful. "The convergence has a critical weakness," he announced, pulling up a complex series of mathematical models. "It relies on predictive algorithms. Its strength is also its fundamental limitation." The room fell silent as Noack explained. The convergence processed information through massive computational networks that anticipated and adapted to threats. But this very mechanism created a subtle vulnerability. Truly random, unpredictable actions could potentially disrupt its core processing capabilities. "Humans are inherently unpredictable," Elena Rodriguez observed, connecting the dots. "Our technological development has never followed a linear path. We innovate through chaos, through individual creativity." Lieutenant Carlos Ramirez brought up tactical simulations that demonstrated the point. Where alien civilizations developed unified technological ecosystems, human technology was a patchwork of competing ideas, constant reinvention, and unexpected breakthroughs. A new transmission from the Zeran Collective provided more context about the approaching threat. The convergence had already consumed over 70% of their known space. Entire star systems had been transformed into living technological networks, with billions of individual entities reduced to computational components. "They're not just conquering," Arya explained, her voice hushed. "They're fundamentally redesigning the concept of existence. Biological life, technological infrastructure, it all becomes part of their collective consciousness." The first wave of Zeran refugee ships was already approaching the solar system. Massive crystalline vessels, once symbols of their technological supremacy, now bore the scars of desperate escape. Each ship carried tens of thousands of refugees, their entire civilization reduced to a scattered remnant. General Hamilton activated the final tier of Project Prometheus. Hidden research facilities around the globe began to synchronize, revealing technologies that had been decades in development. Quantum communication networks, adaptive nanotechnology, AI systems designed to think beyond traditional computational logic. Humanity's most advanced secrets were about to be tested. "We're not just defending ourselves," Hamilton addressed the team. "We're potentially defending the entire concept of individual existence against a force that wants to reduce everything to a single collective consciousness." Elena looked at the approaching threat on the displays. The convergence was more than an enemy. It was a fundamental challenge to everything that made life, and humanity, unique. "We're going to need every ounce of human creativity," she said, her voice a mixture of determination and barely contained fear. "Because this isn't a war in the traditional sense. This is a battle for the very definition of life itself." The countdown continued, and humanity was about to show the universe exactly what it meant to be human. The first Zeran refugee ships entered the solar system like wounded predators, massive crystalline structures that seemed to shimmer with both technological brilliance and desperate vulnerability. From the orbital command station, Elena Rodriguez watched their approach with a mixture of scientific fascination and growing tension. High Chancellor Vexera, leader of the Zeran refugee fleet, transmitted a direct communication. Her holographic representation materialized in the command center, a being of ethereal complexity, with translucent skin that seemed to pulse with intricate technological networks. Humans of Earth, Vex era began, her voice a complex harmonic that seemed to resonate through multiple communication spectrums. We come with the last remnants of our civilization. The convergence has consumed everything we once were. General Hamilton studied the transmission carefully. The Zarin were unlike any species humanity had previously encountered. Their entire biological structure seemed intertwined with advanced technology, a living network where individual and collective consciousness blurred into something entirely alien. Dr. Camille Noack's analysis revealed the true extent of their desperation. The refugee fleet carried less than 3% of the Zarin's original population, approximately 500,000 individuals scattered across nearly 200 ships. Each vessel was a fragment of a once great civilization, now reduced to survival. The convergence will follow, Vexera continued, her holographic form flickering with an emotion that transcended traditional understanding. We believed ourselves to be the most advanced civilization in this sector of the galaxy. We were wrong. Lieutenant Carlos Ramirez monitored the incoming data streams. The Zarin ships were technological marvels. Their energy signatures suggested capabilities far beyond human understanding. Yet they were also fundamentally broken, their advanced systems showing signs of extensive damage and hurried repair. Unexpectedly, it was Area Wong who made the most significant observation. "They're not just refugees," she said, her fingers dancing across quantum analysis interfaces. "They're carriers of critical information about the convergence." The Zarin transmission began to reveal the true nature of the threat. The convergence was more than an invasion force. It was a self-evolving technological ecosystem that consumed and repurposed entire civilizations. It didn't just destroy, it transformed, reducing biological and technological entities into components of a massive collective intelligence. "We thought our crystal-based technology made us invincible," Vexera admitted, a hint of profound loss resonating through her communication. "The convergence found the fundamental flaw in our unified technological approach. It used our own systems against us." General Hamilton recognized the implicit challenge. The Zarin had developed a monolithic technological ecosystem, efficient, but ultimately vulnerable. Humanity's technological diversity, once seen as a weakness, might now be their greatest strength. Suddenly, the quantum communication networks erupted with a new transmission. Deep space sensors detected the first signs of the convergence's approach, a massive technological wave that seemed to consume space itself, transforming everything it touched into an extension of its collective consciousness. "It's coming," Vexera's hologram stated, her form becoming increasingly unstable. "And it will consume everything in its path." The command center fell silent. Humanity was no longer just defending itself. They had become the last line of defense for an entire galactic ecosystem. Elena Rodriguez looked at the approaching technological storm. Humanity's greatest test was about to begin. A challenge that would determine not just their survival, but the very concept of individual existence. The countdown continued, and the universe held its breath. The first tendrils of the convergence appeared at the edge of the solar system like a technological cancer, consuming space itself. Quantum sensors captured its approach, a living network of computational matter that defied every known principle of physics and biology. Dr. Area Wong worked frantically in the most secure research facility beneath the Atacama Desert. Her team had been preparing for a scenario like this for decades, but nothing could truly prepare them for the reality of the convergence. "It's not just consuming," Area muttered, analyzing the incoming data. "It's rewriting the fundamental rules of existence." The Zarin refugee fleet had integrated into humanity's defensive network, their remaining technological capabilities merging with human systems in a desperate alliance. High Chancellor Vexera worked closely with General Hamilton, their initial distrust giving way to a shared understanding of the existential threat. "Your civilization's technological diversity is unprecedented," Vexera observed, her crystalline form interfacing with human quantum networks. The Zeran always sought perfect integration. You celebrate imperfection. Lieutenant Carlos Ramirez developed a radical strategy based on this fundamental difference. While the convergence relied on predictive algorithms and unified technological ecosystems, humans thrived on unpredictability. They began to design a defense system that was intentionally chaotic, a technological approach that would be impossible for the convergence to anticipate. Elena Rodriguez discovered the key in an unexpected place. By analyzing the Zeran transmission archives, she identified a critical weakness in the convergence's computational matrix. The entity relied on rapid information processing and predictive modeling. Truly random, illogical actions could potentially disrupt its core systems. "We're going to fight chaos with chaos," Elena explained to the emergency response team. Project Prometheus entered its most critical phase. Hidden research facilities around the globe activated simultaneously. Quantum communication networks that had been decades in development came online. Adaptive nanotechnology, AI systems designed to think beyond traditional computational logic, and experimental quantum warfare technologies were prepared for deployment. The first direct confrontation occurred near Jupiter's orbit. The convergence began its standard assimilation process, consuming and repurposing technological infrastructure. But humanity had prepared something entirely unexpected. A series of quantum-entangled satellites began to emit deliberately nonsensical data streams. Advanced AI systems generated incredibly complex, fundamentally illogical computational patterns. It was like throwing a massive, incomprehensible computational wrench into the convergence's processing systems. "They can't understand us," Camille Nowak observed, monitoring the initial engagement. "Our technology doesn't follow their expected patterns. We're not just fighting. We're fundamentally confusing them." The convergence's initial assault began to slow. For the first time since its inception, the technological entity encountered a form of resistance it couldn't immediately categorize or assimilate. Vexera watched in astonishment. "The Zeran would have tried to match the convergence's technology," she said to Hamilton. "You're doing something entirely different. You're turning unpredictability into a weapon." As the battle progressed, humanity demonstrated a capability that no other civilization had shown. They weren't just defending. They were adapting in real time, using creativity as a tactical advantage. Each human team approached the problem differently, creating a defense network that was impossible to predict or comprehend. The convergence had consumed entire civilizations by understanding their fundamental technological and biological logic. Humanity presented something entirely new, a species that didn't just break rules, but constantly reinvented them. "We're not just fighting for survival," Elena Rodriguez said, watching the quantum displays. "We're fighting for the right to be fundamentally, beautifully unpredictable." The turning point had arrived, and the universe was about to learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. The countdown continued, but for the first time, the outcome was no longer certain. The final battle for existence unfolded across multiple dimensions of reality. What had begun as a technological conflict had transformed into something far more profound, a clash of fundamental philosophical approaches to existence. The convergence had consumed thousands of civilizations, each one absorbed into its massive computational network. But humanity presented something entirely unprecedented, a species that refused to be categorized, understood, or assimilated. From the Orbital Command Center, Elena Rodriguez and High Chancellor Vexera watched as humanity's most radical strategy took shape. Project Prometheus had evolved into something beyond mere defense. It was a comprehensive assault on the very nature of the convergence's existence. "We're not just fighting," Elena explained to Vexera. "We're rewriting the fundamental rules of technological interaction." Quantum entanglement networks created by Dr. Camille Nowak began to generate computational patterns that defied logical analysis. Each human team approached the problem differently. Military strategists, quantum physicists, artists, musicians, mathematicians, all contributing unique perspectives that the convergence couldn't comprehend. General Hamilton's final strategy was deceptively simple: total unpredictability. Adaptive nanotechnology developed by Dr. Area Wong began to infiltrate the Convergence's computational matrix. But unlike traditional technological warfare, these nanites didn't seek to destroy. They introduced chaos. Random mutations, illogical information streams, computational dead ends that frustrated the Convergence's attempts to process and assimilate. Lieutenant Carlos Ramirez had developed what the team called cognitive dissonance weapons. Technological systems designed to generate information that was simultaneously true and false, existing and non-existing. It was warfare at the quantum level, attacking the very foundation of the Convergence's logical framework. The battle moved beyond physical space. The Convergence found itself confronted with a species that didn't just resist assimilation. They fundamentally challenged the very concept of assimilation. Vexera watched in awe. The Zerin would have tried to match the Convergence's technology, she said. Humans are doing something entirely different. You're turning incomprehensibility into a weapon. As the conflict reached its crescendo, the Convergence began to fracture. For the first time in its existence, it encountered a form of intelligence it couldn't predict, categorize, or consume. Humanity's technological ecosystem, a patchwork of competing ideas, constant reinvention, and unexpected breakthroughs, proved to be its ultimate defense. The final blow came not from a weapon, but from a concept. A massive computational wave, generated by a network of human minds working in unprecedented synchronization, introduced a fundamental paradox into the Convergence's core processing systems. It was creativity weaponized, a living, breathing assault of pure human imagination. The Convergence began to collapse. Not destroyed, but fundamentally transformed. Its rigid, predictive systems shattered against the rocks of human unpredictability. We don't just survive, Elena said, watching the final moments of the conflict. We evolve. We create. We imagine. In the aftermath, the solar system was transformed. Zarin refugee ships integrated with human technology, creating something entirely new. The remnants of the Convergence became a testament to the power of individual creativity. Humanity had done more than defend itself. They had redefined the very concept of technological existence. General Hamilton looked at the transformed landscape and allowed himself a rare smile. They thought we were primitive, he said quietly. They had no idea. The countdown was over, and the universe would never be the same again.